The committee and several people, like in our small section alone, gave over $1,000.
God. Okay. Yeah, what? Yeah, this is important. All right. Liz.
Hey, Christina!
And the same list, which is great.
I know, it's so awesome.
Yep, we're hanging. We get the individual pictures, right?
Did you feel that? Yeah, the distinction being the last two. Apparently we have water on the feet. Honorary. Yeah. There you go. I am supposed to go back and check the not messing
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a very sunny commencement day. Please be seated. Members of the class of 2015, faculty and staff, distinguished guests and families, Trustee Missel and Emeritus Trustee Marion, friends of the university. We gathered this morning to celebrate the achievements of our graduates, to reflect upon the days we shared together, to anticipate with a mixture of excitement and anxiety what lies ahead, and to express relief that final exams, grades, meetings with teachers are finally forever behind you, unless or until you have children. Yet surely there is a suspicion lurking among some of you, a suspicion that it is best not to dwell on this morning, that there will be days ahead when you find yourself wistfully looking back on torts and contracts in the sheltered confines of Lewis Hall. We shouldn't avoid the obvious this morning. Your time in law school has been a challenging one for the profession, for legal education, and at times for our own School of Law. But neither should we forget another truth, somewhat lost in the midst of all of these challenges. Today marks your entry into a profession that has served this country and this society well. It is a noble and dignified profession, and one for which you are well prepared in every way. You know and understand the law. You also know that being a lawyer is so much more than a set of technical skills, more than a trade, more than a job. It is an ethic and carries with it a set of values. If you learned any lesson these last 3 years, I hope it is that one. This is not the occasion for a non-attorney to offer commentary on the state of the profession in law school these days. But I have to say, I lament the lost perspective on what we used to call the higher calling of the law. I hope W&L can stand as a place where that hasn't been and never will be forgotten. If I hear one common refrain from alumni of this law school, it is that Washington and Lee prepared them to be not simply attorneys, but a particular kind of attorney. And that must mean or should mean that Washington and Lee is not just a law school, but a particular kind of law school, not blindly and anxiously bound by the conformity that characterizes legal education these days, but comfortable with its distinctiveness and confident of its own definition of excellence. Before we get too far into the formalities of the ceremony, I have a request for the graduates of the class of 2015. Take note of the people who have gathered here today: parents, spouses, partners, children, friends, and faculty and staff. They couldn't be prouder. They have sacrificed on your behalf, and you are surely filled with gratitude. But today is your day, and our pride comes from knowing that someone we care about has, after much hard work, achieved a goal and fulfilled a dream. It is fitting that we also take note of others who made this possible. This is the 166th year for the School of Law. For many years, it occupied the spot at the far end of this colonnade, behind you to your left, first in one of the ugliest structures ever constructed in the South, a building that fortunately burned down one night, and fortunately when no one was there, and then in the building that is now Tucker Hall. A future Supreme Court justice was educated there, as were several presidents of the American Bar, many distinguished jurists, and some of the most prominent members of your profession. As you join their ranks, we not only congratulate you, we charge you with fulfilling your duties. We know that you will meet and exceed the very high standards of those who came before you, and we wish you the very best. Before calling upon Dean Nora Demleitner to lead us through the main part of our ceremony today, I wish to take a moment to acknowledge the retirements of several long-standing members of the faculty and staff, and if they are here, I would ask them to stand as I call their names. Jack Bissett, Head of Collection Services, Law Library, 33 years. Terry Evans, the Employment Development Associate at the Law School for 18 years. Tim Jost, Professor of Law, 14 years. Carol Jean Kirby, Administrative Assistant, 26 years. Vera Menser, Administrative Assistant, 19 years. And Darlene Moore, Director of Faculty Services, for 39 years. Please join me in congratulating and thanking them. And I will now call upon the Dean, who will lead us through the remainder of our ceremony today.
Thank you, President Ruscio. Let me echo the President's welcome to all of you on this picture-perfect Saturday morning. I realize only the critics would say, hot Saturday morning. Class of 2015, you are a very special class, and I think you know it. For starters, you are the largest class ever, and by a lot, in the history of Washington and Lee's Law School. Let me take you back 3 years. In the spring of 2012, the stress level rose in Lewis Hall after the first deposit deadline. Where would we put all of these students who plan to come? We usually average between 125 and 135 students. We've never even had a class of 150. And now we seem to be staring 220 of them right in the eye. After the second deposit deadline, panic set in Lewis Hall. Virtually all of you may remember a somewhat tortured conversation with Brett Twitty, in which he asked you whether you would be willing to start in the fall of 2013. 186 of you said, no, we'll see you in Lexington this August. By the time you got to campus, we had bought lawn chairs, just in case you couldn't fit into the building. We had gotten new lockers and tried to persuade some of our upper-class students that carols are just not as cool as they thought, as you know, with mixed results. We had retained more faculty, because after all, we were determined to give you the real W&L experience. I'd argue that you, however, have changed the standard for the real W&L experience, and you have made it even a better one. In fact, you barely started on your first class when Mary Natkin began to fret over clinic and externship opportunities for you in your third year. And I will credit your class for our DC program, because without you staring us in the face, we probably would have taken a few more years to start it. You stuck with us through great days and low times, but we could always rely on you to tackle all challenges, keep up the good cheer, and send reply all emails whenever class emails didn't go through Sakai. All of you have left your indelible mark on our law school. You've challenged us and each other, sometimes tested our patience, but always improved structures and processes. And I could always be sure that you truly did it to make our law school the best it could be. We could not have asked for a class that was more devoted, but also more clear-eyed about problems and challenges, that was more dedicated to improving the institution, but remained critical of our shortcomings, that was more competitive, but proud of each other's achievements, that was more irreverent and funny, and that had more larger-than-life figures, dancing and musical talent than your class. Even as you're leaving, you're hitting it out of the ballpark. Many more of you are employed at graduation than in recent years. And I know that our Career Strategy Office will work with those of you who are still seeking a position, and I make that promise to all of you parents who may still worry about that. Now let me appeal to the competitive spirit of the class of 2015. We're hopeful that you will match the excellent bar results of the class of 2014. Keep up the can-do spirit that brought you to W&L and that you brought to this institution. The legal profession, our country, and the world need people like you. People who will take up a challenge. People who will fight injustice at home and abroad. People who can debate forcefully but always civilly. And people who want to leave an institution a better place than they found it. You have the talents and the abilities to get that accomplished, and don't ever doubt that. Many of you will be lifelong friends, and all of you will be lifelong colleagues who have shaped each other's lives. As you will remain in touch with each other, thanks in part to these small devices and ever-shrinking devices we all carry, also remain in touch with your alma mater. Then, as our alumni have supported all of you in so many ways, we count on you to continue that powerful tradition. And now, let us turn to moving you from Washington and Lee Law students to Washington and Lee Law alumni. President Ruscio, I now ask the members of the class of 2015 to rise. Mr. President, I have the honor to present 174 candidates for the Juris Doctor degree. They have been examined by the faculty and approved by the Board of Trustees. They are to be congratulated on their command of the ways by which justice is attained and commended for their exceptional learning to the advancement of a just social order. I ask you, by your official act, to confer upon them their degrees.
Upon the recommendation of the faculty and approval by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer the degree of Juris Doctor of Washington and Lee University. Please come forward to receive your diploma as your names are called, and I ask that the audience hold its applause until the last graduate has received his or her diploma. Congratulations.
Ashley N. Adams. Halima Folashade Adanigan. Alexis A. Aduba. Zachary Stephen Agee. Henry A. Andrews. Sarah Catherine Atkinson. Terrence Anthony Austin. John Badman IV. Justin E. Bass. Ron Benjamin Burnkrant. Ethan Davis Merritt Bishop Watt. Trista Nicole Bishop Watt. Thomas Paul Bortnick. Tara Nicole Bratcher. Carolyn Jo Broadback. Jasmine Denise Brooks. Lauren Ashley Brown. Megan Margaret Buckley. Alexander James Spyland in absentia. John Carr Clark Byrne II. Babatunde Mohammed Cadmus. Carly Rose Cahill. Jennifer Helene Callahan. Thayer Elizabeth Case. Jonathan Lee Calder. Amanda Lee Cecil. Jordan Elizabeth Cherry. Jessica Chi. Gretchen N. Cleveley. Bradley R. Cochran. Kevin James Coghill. Jessica Drew Cohn. Edward Joseph Connor IV. Krista Consiglio. Chad M. Cormier. Georgia G. Crennan. Cameron Troy Crowther. Sarah Elizabeth Curry. Caleb B. David. Joshua Mason Deal. Congratulations. Catherine G. Dickinson. Louis Richard Doling, Jr. Sean Patrick Domer. Jennifer Lynn Domain. Brittany Janelle Duke. Brenna D. Duncan. Donovan Keith Eason. Laura Elaine Edwards. Michael Evans. Ember Elizabeth Eister. Congratulations. Elizabeth A. Farrell. Jenna Lynn Fierstein. Michael Glenn Fennell. Alexander D. Floxbart. Elizabeth Jones Floxbart. Trevor Owen Flake. Casey Lawrence Floyd. Amy E. Foreman. Thomas Daniel Frith IV. Stevie Nicole Frost. Zachary Danielle Fernald. Michelle Ruth Gibson. Jessica Alexandra Gervin. Jacob Goldstein. James Caldwell Gordon IV. Marcus Noel Green. Matthew Stephen Hale. Stephen Douglas Hall. Stephen Robert Halpin III. Elliot Michael Harding. Craig Nelson Herring. Angelica Neville Hendricks. Brandon T. Hicks. Robert Willard Hoeing. Blake M. Hooper. Andrew P. House. Ashley Morgan Howe. Imani D. Huddy. Laura Adonma Ahanachor. Danielle Scott Jacobs. Sang Eun Jung. David Lee Johnson. Ellen Christine Johnston. Lindsay Catherine Jones. Risa Sarah Katz. Robert Charles Kelly. Matthew D. Kilgus. Morgan Lee Kinney. James Eric Kaiser. Sarah Emily Klein. Timothy Paul Kusinski. Rachel Claire Kurzweil. John R. Langley. Allison Elizabeth Leary. Lauren Leung. Mingyang Liu. Matthew Jarvis Courtney Logan. Austin Lee Lomax. David T. Long, Jr. in absentia. Regan Coleman Loper. Brittany Cantor Love. Weston M. Love. Christina Elizabeth Machak. Brian Timothy Mack. George McDonald Mackey V. Tara L. McNeil. Anthony Mapi Maparara. Brett C. Morford. Julia Christina Mayer. Brendan P. McHugh. Mark F. Magnold. Heather Marie Missoura. Oscar Ricardo Molina. Congratulations. Madeline Taylor Morsell. Catherine L. Moss. Justin Aloysius Mostout. Sarah Rose Murphy. Allison Lee Migas. Danielle R. Napier. Thomas Owick. James F. Parker. Kelsey Karen Marie Paragoy. Cody Allen Phillips. James Kirby Pickle. Robin Patricia Paisan. Christian A. Pritchett. Laura Jordan Poleo. Whitney Danielle Pulliam. Stephen Kyle Pitlick. Noel Linda Quam. Brandon Evan Raphael. Ryan Christopher Red. Rachel Alexandra Reese. Sukmani Kaur Reiki. Richard Garrett Rice. Christina Sacco. Scott D. Salmon. Meg Elizabeth Sawyer. Stephen Joseph Schrader. Brianna Quinjel Scott. John Michael Quinn Seibler. Jameson Louis Shabanovitz. Deepti S. Sharma. Aaron Lee Schaefer. Hannah Stein. Catherine Curie Skelling. Andrew Talbot Squires. Jordy Lior Stern. Lindy K. Stevens. Danielle Thomas Strong. Hernandez D. Stroud. Crystal Bruner Swensbo. Stephanie L. Tansey. Cameron Edward Tomey. Sean Thomas Toomey. Zara Verano. Kyle P. Virtue. Catherine Ann Weibler. Zara A. Wallace. Kevin James Walters in absentia. Ashley Hart Waterbury. Adam Charles Wendell. Natalie Renee Wengroff. Caitlin W. Weston. Nigel K. Wheeler. Haley Elizabeth White. Paul M. Wiley. Ostrika E. Wilhelm. Anne Elizabeth Wilkes. Zachary Alexander Wilkes. Christopher Robert Wilson. Robert Chandler Wilson. Matthew Alexander Weiner. Anna Rachel York. And Richard Zin Zen. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's commencement speaker. We're delighted to have with us Senator Shelley Moore Capito, the junior senator from West Virginia, to deliver this year's law school commencement address. Senator Capito joined the U.S. Senate in January after having represented West Virginia's 2nd Congressional District in the U.S. House of Representatives for 14 years. Prior to her service in the House, she was a member of the West Virginia House of Delegates for 4 years. Senator Capito is the first female United States Senator in West Virginia's history and was elected with the largest margin of victory for a Republican in state history. In fact, she is the first Republican from West Virginia to win a full term in the U.S. Senate since 1942. In the Senate, Senator Capito serves on the Appropriations Committee, the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, the Environment and Public Works Committee, and the Rules and Administration Committee. It is her goal, and hopefully she will succeed, to strike bipartisan consensus in matters close to the heart of her constituents. Senator Capito comes from a politically active West Virginia family. She holds a BS in zoology from Duke University and a master's in education from the University of Virginia. Even though she herself is not a lawyer, both of her sons are. Charles graduated in 2007 from Washington and Lee's Law School, and his younger brother Moore followed in his footsteps 4 years later. Adding to the lawyers in the senator's family is her daughter-in-law, Catherine Brinks Capito, also a member of the Washington and Lee Law Class of 2011. We're truly delighted to have Senator Capito with us today.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you, President. And thank you all for being here. I am very aware that it is very warm out there, so I'm going to be very considerate. I'll only do my half-an-hour speech, don't worry. But I want to thank all of you, to the members of the Board of Trustees, the administration, the faculty, distinguished guests, proud family members, and I heard quite a few out there today, but most of all to the graduates of the class of 2015, Washington and Lee graduate, now graduates of the law school. I'm very honored to be here today. As was mentioned, our family has a long and wonderful history with Washington and Lee, beginning with Gustavus Capito, who graduated in the undergraduate school in 1899, followed by many other family members. Among them today, and here with us, is my brother-in-law, Jim Farah, who has dedicated his professional life to this university and currently serves as the secretary of the university. This is my third Washington and Lee School of Law graduation in the last 8 years. I remember sitting where you all sit now as a proud parent, watching our sons Charles and Moore and our daughter-in-law Katie graduate. And I would have to mention, because I noticed, I think there might be a couple married couples in the graduating class, that Moore and Katie just blessed us on Thursday with our third grandchild, Eliza Capito, was born Thursday night. When Charles, yes, that is a round of applause for Eliza. When Charles graduated in 2007, Arthur John Grisham was the speaker, and he shared a simple message with graduates. Do good. Realize the gift that you have been given and use it for the right things. He said, and I quote, until you use your license and your brains and your enthusiasm and your youthfulness to reach out, to reach down, and to help someone less fortunate, you won't realize the power that the law has to protect people. In 2011, Nina Totenberg was the speaker. She is NPR's legal affairs correspondent, and she told Moore and Katie and their classmates to seek distinct paths by focusing on more than billable hours. And I quote, as you plan for life, I urge you to factor in not just money, though money is a very nice thing to have, but also having a very interesting and diverse professional life, she said. Mr. Grisham brought the perspective of a writer of fiction. Ms. Totenberg brought the perspective of nonfiction. And I'm here as a United States Senator with insight from the world of science fiction. I work in a place where creatures from different worlds collide to make laws that you, the doctors of law, will interpret, use, or challenge in order to defend or promote various interests. After 14 years in the House of Representatives and almost as many campaigns, I've learned countless lessons, including a few I think will pertain to you today as you celebrate this achievement and this chapter in your life. These are the importance of community, the importance of lawyers, and the importance of your pursuit of happiness. You are incredibly fortunate to be part of the Washington and Lee community. It is much bigger and stronger than you know right now. When an alum recognizes that trident on your car or on your hat, chances are you will be drawn into a conversation with that person, whether they graduated in 1965 or in 2015. You will recall law school flag football. You will recall Professor Rendleman's cardigans and bicycle rides. And you will recall Saturdays at Goshen Pass. And you will make a connection that you will find is critically important. The community, this community, is much like the community I come from. And I noticed there are a couple West Virginia graduates in the class this year. The entire state of West Virginia is really just one large, small town. We care for one another, we help one another, we're interested in each other's families, and we know each other's names. And you're always running into somebody that you know, here, there, and everywhere. That's the beauty of West Virginia to me. As my children were growing up, I created lasting friendships with many of their friends' parents. I'm sure many of the parents here today can identify with that. At sporting events, we would share stories and advice while rooting our children on the field. We discussed a wide range of issues that we were passionate about, like caring for our elderly parents, the high price of gasoline, or current events around the world. These quote-unquote bleacher buddies, as I called them, became my community. It was that network that encouraged me to first run for public office, the West Virginia House of Delegates. I remember meeting one of my bleacher buddies over in the cheese section of the grocery store one day, and I said, you know, I'm thinking about running for the House of Delegates. And she looked at me and she said, you've been talking about that for years. Why don't you just do it? When it came time for me to run, to find volunteers and help my campaign, that was the network I turned to, that group of bleacher buddies. And the community that you have built during your time at Washington and Lee is no different. You will turn to them. The academic and practical training that you've received, whether through the Black Lung Clinic, the VC3 journals, and other clinics and externships, have prepared you well to be a lawyer. My sons and daughter-in-law can attest to that. You will deploy those skills in the very near future and will find yourself ahead of the game. As a Washington and Lee graduate, you will have the additional privilege of being part of the community in every sense of the word. Be proud and nurture this community. Cherish the connections that you've made with other graduates, with your professors, and give back to the university in spirit and in kind. And keep an eye out for those tridents wherever they are. This exceptional community will be your support system and a source of pride for you for years to come. The second lesson is simple. Lawyers matter. A law degree entitles you to pursue several titles throughout your career: general counsel, solicitor general, public defender, clerk, judge, justice, associate, partner, U.S. attorney, professor, or maybe even ambulance chaser and hired gun. In Washington, I am surrounded by lawyers. As Justice Sandra Day O'Connor once said, and I quote, "There is no shortage of lawyers in Washington, D.C. There may be more lawyers than people." But all joking aside, our system of government does not work without lawyers, and that's no surprise. You craft the law, you interpret the law, you ensure that the laws are executed fairly and reasonably, and just as critically, you challenge the law. Congress cannot make laws without your interpretations, your challenges, your advocacies, and your opinions. Public policy could not move forward if we didn't have the legal opinions that are the underpinnings of the decisions, both large and small, that we make. Sometimes we blame the lawyers, too, I will say that. As members of the House and the Senate, we pursue policies by obtaining support for those policies' objectives. But it is the lawyers, and many of them young lawyers, who work in the committees day and night across the aisle to craft the legislation so it can be plugged into our very complex system of government. It's easy for officials like me to lay out a policy position on the floor of the U.S. Senate, or for a candidate to lay out their vision for the country on the stump, but it takes the laws and the lawyers to make those goals a reality. Finally, I would say, and you've probably heard this at every graduation, which you've been to several in your life, do what makes you happy. Enjoy the flexibility you have as an attorney. Some of you will start out as clerks and become judges. Others might end up at a firm or a corporation. And some, hopefully, will devote your expertise to the nonprofit or public service sector. Our country's founders, as you well know, believed that God endowed us with 3 inalienable rights, the third of which is the pursuit of happiness, which I think sometimes gets distorted in our society. Each of you will define happiness differently, but my message to you is, do not define your happiness as a goal. Do not say, I will be happy when I make partner, or I'll be happy when I win my first case, or when I'm appointed as a federal judge. No doubt those goals contribute to your happiness, but they should not define it. Define your happiness as a state of mind as you pursue your goals. To rearrange our founders' words a bit, be happy in your pursuit. That's easier said than done, and there will be those times you just have to grind through it, because after all, those student loans do need to be paid off. But don't sacrifice your happiness. The path I took to where I am now was not a straight line, that's for sure. I was raised in a family that valued public service. My father was a longtime congressman and governor of the state of West Virginia, and I was pretty accustomed to the rough and tumble world of politics, but I never really had my sights set on public service. I attended Duke University as a pre-med student, having always enjoyed math and science and ultimately majored, as you heard, in zoology. Before my senior year, I decided maybe I ought to work in a hospital to see how I really liked it, and I tried to get some hands-on experience to learn more about my chosen field. Through that experience, I realized that the medical profession was really not what I wanted to pursue at all. And it was then that I decided to switch paths. I transitioned to higher education, and after graduating from Duke, I got a master's degree at the University of Virginia, just a school just over the hill, and I know there are a lot of UVA graduates here today, so yeah, let's give it a little cheer for UVA. Yeah. But nevertheless, my zoology major has served me well, because after all, it has prepared me to serve in the biggest zoo in America, the United States Congress. But studying medicine and working in education has also shaped my time in Congress. I remain passionate about health care and related issues, as well as ensuring that young West Virginians have a solid foundation through education. And as you graduate today, remember that there are many paths before you, almost all of which you cannot see right now. If you don't feel like you're on the right path, don't be afraid to make a change. And always recall that sense of accomplishment and optimism that you feel today. Serving in elected office has taught me the power of big decisions and small decisions. Elected officials were faced with large questions. How can we assure that the next generation has the opportunity and is as prosperous as the one before? How do we make Social Security solvent for future generations? How does America compete in the global economy? How can we expedite finding a cure for Alzheimer's? These decisions in the past that we choose to pursue will have a lasting effect on millions of Americans. But I've learned that using my power to accomplish things on a smaller scale is just as important. Given my position, I've been able to just recently meet with the widow of a World War II veteran and help her recover her late husband's war medals. With tears in her eyes, she accepted those medals on his behalf. A humble but decorated veteran, he had never told his wife about those awards. I was able to help a young couple from Roane County, West Virginia, adopt a child after many frustrating months and years. I'm able to welcome home our troops from combat, thanking them and their families for their service, courage, and selflessness. As attorneys, you will have the opportunity to participate in monumental events. Those will be exciting, stressful, long-lasting, but remember that the smaller victories are just as meaningful. But most of all, enjoy the journey. Don't always be fixated on your destination. Remember to be happy in your pursuit. The ride is what you'll remember, and your WNL community will be there the entire way. Lastly, your family loves you more than you can imagine. So call them regularly. Don't rely on those little devices that we all use and we all love. Visit them, and be sure on Mother's Day to call your mother, wish her a happy Mother's Day with your voice. Give her the gift of your voice on Mother's Day. Congratulations, God bless, and best of luck to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Capito, for these insightful and inspiring remarks. I will now call Brett Martfoot, the president of the third year class, and Rachel Kurzweil, the vice president of the third year class, to the podium to present Senator Capito with a walking stick.
I might actually just stand up here for a minute. It's really, really hot down there. Senator Capito, thank you so much for your remarks. I'm really glad that you spoke about community. I think the unique elements of the school that President Ruscio were talking about are really embodied in that sense of community. And in the past 100 years, I think the walking stick has come to represent that idea. So with that, on behalf of the class of 2015, we'd like to present you with one of our W&L walking sticks. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Brett and Rachel. I now ask President Ruscio to guide us through the conclusion of the commencement ceremony.
Thank you, Senator Capito, for your very appropriate remarks on this occasion, and thank you also to Dean Demleitner for her many contributions to the School of Law these last 3 years. Thank you, Dean Nora Demleitner. We now may bring these exercises to their fitting conclusion by expressing gratitude to all who have made it possible. We remember the faculty whose scholarship and commitment to teaching have prepared you intellectually to begin your careers. We remember also your families and friends who have sacrificed on your behalf their time, labor, and substance over these years of study. Alumni and friends of the university whose continuing generosity has supported you during your time here, often in ways that you may not have realized. And the staff, administrators, custodians, dining service, and facilities management employees, whose daily and faithful performance of their duties has made your lives more comfortable. On behalf of the graduates, I thank them for making today possible. And for the graduates, I follow the tradition of my predecessors in taking these last few moments to remind you what it means to enter a profession. For despite the turmoil in legal business recently, becoming a lawyer means becoming a member of a profession indispensable to society. And as you embrace this profession, recall the examples of those who have preceded you, such as Justices Lewis Powell and John Minor Wisdom, Bar Association presidents such as Robert Gray, jurists and public servants such as Pam White. Do not shy away from the personal sacrifice that the profession may sometimes require. Do not look the other way when a decision demands an act contrary to your immediate self-interest. And never forget that the privilege and authority granted to you as an attorney means that failing to live up to the profession's highest ideals will directly disadvantage the individuals in the communities you serve. This is a very powerful life you have chosen, with the capacity to do much good, but with real consequences when you do not. I wish you the very best. Godspeed, good wishes. We are adjourned. Congratulations.